I've been thinking about our community needs a community bank. We don't have a community bank anymore. I don't know about y'all, but when I go to the bank, I don't really even know where those people live. I don't know who they are. If you've got something you need done with the bank, you know, they're like, well, we got to call somebody at a 1-800 number to talk to them about doing something. And I go, that's just not what this community needs. And then I have customers in the mortgage business, and they come in, and I'm like, go get your bank statement or go do that. And they don't know how to do that. It's such a pain. And I said, we got to do something about that. So I've been thinking about this bank thing for a long time. And Bob came to my office one day, and Bob's been in the banking business forever. And I said, Bob, I'm thinking we need a community bank. He said, you know, I'm thinking so too. And I said, well, if you see a good opportunity, let me know. Maybe we can figure out a way to do it. So about, 9 months later, Bob shows up at my office. He goes, man, I think I got this thing figured out. He said, there's this opportunity that exists that I've been working on with these other people, and it's not really going that well. And I think if we can get enough people together to do it. And I said, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to call 20 people, and we're going to have a meeting at my office, and then we'll see if the community wants to be involved in doing a bank. So I called 20, 15 showed up, and all 15 said, we're in. And I went, okay, I guess we're off to the races. And so that's where we are today. I mean, this has happened in just incredibly fast speed. It's unbelievable that the people that everybody that we've talked to said, I've said, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? And everybody's going, yes, this is a great idea. It's time to do this again. So that's kind of how this all got started. And it's only been about 4 or 5 months, and here we are right here today. So we really want your feedback because we need to know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. We want to know about what you think about our presentation. And so once we got going, I said, y'all, we got to find a good spot. And then I thought, you know what? The violin guy's moving out of the old Wells Fargo building. So we started working on that. So we've got this place rented. We're like, how can you get any better than Main and Main in downtown Alpharetta, right? So the problem is, so that you know, this building is supposed to be bulldozed down. So we've got to we need your opinion on that. You know, we painted the interior a little bit. We're trying to not spend any more money, but we want it to look nice enough for you. So, because we know it's going to get bulldozed down. So we'd love your feedback on that too. But anyway, so as we all know, North Fulton is cooking. We're in a great spot. Everybody in the world wants to be in Alpharetta, Georgia. I call it Alpha Damretta. And this is the place. And we need our own community bank. We've got so much good stuff going on in the community. And there hasn't been any community banks in a long time. And one of the things that we found out is once the word got out on what we were doing, a lot of people that were in these other banks that got rolled up, they were in community banks and they got rolled up, and now they're all going, hey man, I'd like to come to work there again. I loved it when we were a community bank. And we can make a decision because that's what's happening here is relationship banking is gone. And you need it, if you know, it's like my wife, Mary, she's just basically doing checks and stuff and QuickBooks and all. She's not really borrowing any money, but if you own a business and you need a Bobcat or you need a pickup truck or you need to buy the building, it's nice to be able to walk into this room, talk to one of those guys, and the decision is going to be made while you're here. We're not going to be 1-800, send your stuff in. So I think that's important. And then all the people that we're doing, all the people that are on the board, all the people that are the members that are getting the bank started, the people that are going to be working at the bank, everybody is basically out of this community. So it's a community effort, and we need you to help us put that together. Next slide. So one of the things we talked about is technology. I'll skip the first two. If you think about what's gone on in banking, if you went back 15 years ago, if you were a community bank, you maybe couldn't offer some of the same stuff that a big bank could do. Well, now that's changed. All of that's available to everybody. So we can do mobile banking. We can do all the online banking. So there's no reason why we can't go to somebody that's got a business and get their banking in here. And that's the big key for me was it used to be that you couldn't do all that at a community bank, and now you can. And then we really feel like that based on the people that are going to be part of this community, part of the that are going to be investors in this bank, we think that creates a tremendous referral source for the business that we're going to do. So there's two things that we're looking for. Yes, we want to make good quality loans to good quality people, but at the same time, we want depositors. We want the people in the community to put their money into this bank. That's what really makes it valuable to me in the long run. If sometime down the road somebody wants to buy us out, that's what they're buying. They're buying the depositors. They're buying the customers that we have in this community. So that's why it's important to me that as many people as we can, if you've got a business or your personal banking, we want to have your banking. Even if you're not somebody that typically borrows money, we still want to have your business from a depositor standpoint. So I hope y'all will join with Mary and I. We're excited about, we've got money in the bank. We're excited about it. We're going to move all of our business here, and I hope y'all will do that too.
Thank you, Steve. I'm David Schaefer. I'm the proposed chairman of the board of directors of First City Bank, and I want to welcome you to our future home. We see a massive opportunity here. Georgia banks, big and small, have been gobbled up by out-of-state banking conglomerates. 15 years ago, there were nearly 400 state charter banks in Georgia. Now there's less than 140. SunTrust Bank of Atlanta, which at one time was the second largest state charter bank in America, has disappeared into North Carolina's Truist Bank. As of last week, Synovus Bank, which is a 100-year-old Georgia banking institution, belongs to Tennessee's Pinnacle Financial Partners. Piedmont National Bank over in Johns Creek is now owned by United Bank Shares of West Virginia. Providence Bank, which was started here in North Fulton, belongs to Renaissance Bank of Mississippi. Now the branches are still here. They've got different names on them, and there are people that work in those branches, some of them the same people that worked there when they were locally owned, but they've effectively become zombies with no decision-making power at all, reduced to faxing your tax returns and your financial statements to some 30-year-old in Tupelo or Nashville or Charlotte who becomes the ultimate decision maker in your business. And we believe that there is a dramatic need in this market for a financial institution where a businessman or a businesswoman can come in and sit across the desk from the decision maker. And we believe there's a compelling opportunity for investors in such an enterprise, which is why the organizing group has signed an agreement to buy the 81-year-old Bank of Lumber City in Telfair County, one of the 140 remaining state chartered banks in Georgia, relocate it to this building here in downtown Alpharetta, where there are no other banks in any of downtown, rebrand it First City Bank, and recapitalize with shareholders that we hope become customers. And we've assembled an amazing and talented team of officers and directors who are deeply rooted in this community. I'm privileged to serve as the proposed chairman of a board of directors that includes my friend and our vice chairman, Lynn Riley, who is an accountant by profession, who with a storied career in public service, including time as a Fulton County Commissioner, as a member of the Georgia House of Representatives, as the Revenue Commissioner, and then the Treasurer of the state of Georgia, and as President of the Georgia Student Finance Corporation. Gabe Chatham, a third generation Atlanta real estate developer who serves as president of one of the most important trade associations in the state, the Home Builders Association of Georgia. Carrie Coker, accountant, executive, and entrepreneur who co-founded the Kamada Joe Grill Manufacturing Company and who brings a rich and detailed understanding of business. Rodney Barron, a superstar retired executive from Georgia Pacific, who's in a second career as a packaging entrepreneur and who brings common sense to every decision that we've made. Steve Leibel, an attorney and experienced bank director who helped navigate a startup bank through the crisis of 2008. He has tremendous knowledge and understanding of the pitfalls and the dangers. And Richard Jones, a retired partner at at Malden and Jenkins, one of the most respected bank auditors in the state, and a tremendous source of the kind of wisdom that only comes from experience. And you've already met, and most of you already knew, Steve Beecham, who is chairing the advisory board for First City Bank, and will be leading an amazing group of people who are wired here in this community and who we think will give this bank who will add even more greatly to the massive competitive advantages that we think we already have. So, and we hope that you'll join us, and as an investor and as a customer, and to talk about in more detail the vision for the bank and the top-notch management team that we've assembled. I'm turning it over to my friend and our future Chief Executive Officer and President, Bob Consorak.
I'm Bob Consorak. I know a number of you, but not all of you. Thank you for all of you for being here. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, to understand more about what we're doing, and kind of welcome to banking 1982, right? I mean, look around you. I'll tell you, I'd much rather be renting this building for a few $1,000s a month than own it for $4 million. No kidding. Okay? And so the way Scott Dahl describes it is, we are opening on one of the four corners of downtown Alpharetta. And eventually, we'll be in a different permanent location for our headquarters. But, we are, as David mentioned, this is unique. I've been a banker for longer than I care to admit, and I've done this a couple of times before. But the thing we're doing exactly is unique in the way we're doing it. Is when you're opening a new bank, and the last new bank that opened in Alpharetta opened on the other side of 400, Touchmark National Bank. Bill Short, who's somewhere over here hiding in the back, he and I opened that bank back in 2007, 2008. There hasn't been another community bank that has opened in Alpharetta since we did the last one. So, okay, here we are again. But in this model, we are, just through a series of interesting coincidences and opportunities, we have the opportunity to acquire the smallest bank by assets in the state of Georgia. Little tiny Bank of Lumber City in Telfair County, Georgia. Because what happened was, there's a bank in Vidalia called Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon decided they were going to do a little branch acquisition, and they bought the stock of the bank next door. Well, it's an FDIC institution. And so until the FDIC tells you you're allowed to convert those customers, they had to do something with what's called the bank charter, the FDIC insurance that you use when you open a bank. So they went searching for someone that wanted to acquire. Well, the value of it is, it's already a bank. We can place loans today. We can open deposit accounts. We'd be delighted to have a deposit account open for you at a promotional rate today. By the time we get to acquire the bank, we hope to have a several $100,000 a year run rate of revenue at the time that we acquire it. And then, through happenstance, a security system is going to help us lift it off the ground, move it through the air, and drop it into a bank building. So the efficiencies of this, and the economies of this, and the ability to put it together in short order is really pretty unique. And so that sounds fancy, but when I went and sat with Steve, I said, Beecham, here's what I got. And that's why he reached out to 20 or so folks, and they all got together and said, tell us a little more. And that's how we got here. So here I am telling you about how we're doing this, is just running down through this. It's an existing platform, and so technology savings and time savings and price savings, the fact that we already have use and access to the bank's balance sheet, all that's pretty cool. And so, we plan to do a lot of different things than what they have for today. It's a tiny little bank in Lumber City. And so they don't even have bill pay. They don't have an app. They don't do remote deposit. Well, all that kind of stuff is important to customers here. And so we've spent a fair amount of time doing market research on, hey, organizing group, what do you think is going to be our low-hanging fruit? We're not going to be Citibank when we open, so what do we want to be best at when we open? And so we invite your thoughts and input to anybody that invited you here tonight. If we charged you less and paid you more, and we had this sort of a bundle, what would interest you to bank here? We want to know that, because you're the folks we're looking to say, if we want to knock this thing out of the park as an investment and as a business model, how do we make everybody successful? That's kind of what we're doing. The last one here, did David Finette show up? Or did Froelich show up? We are partnering with some pretty cool folks. One of the interesting things about this model is that you all know banking has changed in some ways in the last 20 years. Hey, and hasn't changed in others. And so, yeah, y'all, I mean, I can go in there and pull out my little safety deposit card where I used to type in my deposits and keep records for my bankers. And some things work, some things are different, and some things are entirely new. This is a really good time to know your banker, because people talk about AI and they talk about all these apps and all these different ways to move money. They all work, but what Bill used to say, people value their bank somewhere in between the way they value their dry cleaners and they value the beer distributor, okay? They want it to work, they want it to be efficient, they want it all to not cost anything and always be available. Of course, that's what everybody wants. And so the whole value proposition of how do you construct something in a way that's going to be helpful to everybody, that's pretty important. And this whole friends and family idea is to invite your input, help us craft something that's going to be of interest and of value to you. So the strategic partnerships I talked about, Fintech, one of the larger, what they call merchant processors in the state of Georgia, maybe about 5,000 customers or so. If you run a business and you've got a little thing in front of your cash register, or you use QR codes or tap and pays or whatever, you have to have some sort of technology in order to take a payment, other than cash. Well, we're partnering with a firm like that because they've got so many clients in this area that once we identify what does our ideal customer look like, what is the ideal bundle of products and services we'd like to offer them, okay, well, hey, Fintech, how many of those are within 5 miles of our bank? How many should we reach out to? You know, what should be our offering? So we're doing this in such a fashion to make sure we can have an identified market of what looks to be, you know, our low-hanging fruit. And so we're working on that. I'll stop there because all of us have been talking for a while. Before I do this last slide, anybody have any questions?
You talked a lot about how you're going to keep up with all the other banks. How are you going to differentiate yourself, not only just because you're unique in that you're the city bank, but what's the value add that you guys have?
Well, thank you, because part of that is exactly some of the product research we're doing now, and just kind of what I spoke to is, you know, what is, across our organizer and investing group, you know, what's most important to you? If we had to identify, because again, if we're going to open as a new bank, you can't be everything to everybody on day one. So what do you want to be good at first to make sure that you're in the sweet spot of the banking services that folks know? So we're looking for that information. We'll share it with you as we kind of evolve and go along. Thank you.
You mentioned you started, I think you said the last community bank in the Alpharetta area. What was maybe one lesson learned from that experience that you're looking to apply with this opportunity that you think will help propel it?
I wrote a book that I'll give you one when I leave here. It's called The Most Fun I Never Want to Have Again. Okay? And the last line of that book, at the very last chapter, is, if I ever do this again, the title of the book is going to be, I Thought I Was Done the Last Time. Okay, so I'm taking notes and I'm being recorded as we speak. Yeah. We opened Touchmark in January of 2008. We raised $34.5 million. When we opened, we didn't even have a lender. Okay? But we found some ways that were novel and that our investors and our board and the FDIC with the OCC approved, that allowed us to make some investments in some securities and some bonds that paid off very well. Yeah, not to get deep into the weeds with you, but if you remember back in 2008, it was a fellow named Hank Paulson who was the Secretary of the Treasury. Hank Paulson got on TV one night after Bear Stearns failed and Lehman Brothers failed and said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the United States of America. we're not going to allow any more money center banks to fail. Remember I called an ALCO meeting the next day and I said, ladies and gentlemen, the only protected asset class on the face of the planet right now is the outstanding debt of money center banks. So we're going to back up the truck, and I guarantee you, if Goldman Sachs blows up and Morgan Stanley blows up and HSBC blows up, the last thing in the world you're going to be worried about is your investment in this bank, because the rest of your world is going to be on fire. And so the reason that I tell you that is there's always different paths through the woods. Nothing ever works out exactly the way that you want. But what you hope to be surrounded with is a group of very capable folks and a very capable leadership team. Y'all can take a deep breath and say, okay, what do we do with this? That was a big lesson that I took away from that. Okay.
Mentioning employees, what kind
Hi.
of person do you think would be willing to join, to be willing to go to work? Do you think you can attract good people?
What kind of person is willing to leave an established company?
Somebody like Joy.
Okay, all right. Well, you know what? Thank you. That's a very humbling question, okay? Because as several folks mentioned, there used to be a number of community banks across North Fulton. They've all gotten bought up and merged and acquired. The number of folks, and in fact, Scott's here, Bycat's here, Chris Acker's here. There are folks who have really, really good backgrounds, tremendous experience, tremendous books of business, deep relationships. You have very successful banking careers. And they're like, you're going to go do one of those? You got room for me? Can I come? And they have to work with me. They want to come do this because of the organizing group, because of the whole value proposition. And so I am humbled by the quality, just because there aren't that many of these anymore. And this business model still works, so long as you know what your business model is. Yes, sir, Mr. Cox.
So I grew up in a ridiculously small town in rural Arkansas. And the relationship that I had with our bank was I eventually borrowed a little bit of money to buy a truck so I could get to my job and that kind of thing. And when I got to college age, I went to that bank to get my college loan and that kind of thing. When I walked in that door, they knew me. They knew my story. I didn't have to explain who I was. How much of that do you expect to kind of translate into this small environment? Because that's something that's missing. When we go to B of A, they don't want to talk to you until they look at your bank balance. They don't even want to frame their discussion with you.
Yeah, but okay, you're right. Okay, in 2007, when we did Touchmark, Alpharetta was a bedroom community for Atlanta. Okay, now it's its own commercial center. I've got accounts at Chase. Okay, they work. Heaven help me if my debit card doesn't work, or I'm trying to add my wife onto my account, or I need to do something because you got to call and schedule an appointment and all that kind of stuff. As long as you don't need something special, big banks do a lot of really, really cool stuff. But look how entrepreneurial this community is. Look at the number of business owners in this room. If you need, what is it? Product and price brings people in the door, but service and advice brings them back. These folks have the books of business that they have because they've helped people figure stuff out over the years. Eric grew like, $140 million book of business in 4 years just because he's been going up and down 400 as a commercial banker for the past 20. You get good at this. It's their subject matter expertise. And so, the ability to have technology that works, we can't be everything to everybody, but if you're looking for something that's going to work as a value proposition, and hey, just help me figure this out. I need to make sure this works. And they know who I am when I walk in the door. It helps when you walk in the door and they don't say, give me your driver's license. Yeah, they might look at you and run away or go back to the back and let somebody else wait on you.
Your story is your own story. You have to support
Okay,
yourself.
all right. Okay. Let's talk about, because this is a startup. This is an investment. And so if you're investing in a company, you want to understand, well, why would I want to go do that? But let's have that discussion a little bit after somebody else gets up here and talks, because I've been talking long enough. Advisory board?
Let's start with who's here. David Chatham, where's David? David's sitting right there. If y'all haven't met David, shame on you. You need to know David Chatham. He's been in this community forever. And of course, his son Gabe's sitting on the board with us. Michelle Coleman, her husband Bill. Michelle's been with me on this early on. John Holman, where's John? There's John. If you need to fly somewhere for free, John's got a plane. He can fly you. Matthew, where's Matthew? Cottahauer, he's my bald-headed brother. Even though he owns a hair salon, he won't wear a wig. Levitan, where's Jeff? Jeff's back there in the back. If y'all don't know Jeff, y'all need to know Jeff. Just a great, I don't know, I call them all-Americans. He's just, his heart's in the right place. He does a lot of stuff in a lot of countries around the world, and it's nice to have a guy like that on your team. Brian Patton's not here. Brian's a commercial real estate guy. Used to work for the city. Angie Bendix. Angie and her husband's an orthopedic spine guy. They have the Orthopedic Spine Center across from North Fulton Hospital. And then Angie's also the person that owns the building where Taffer's Tavern is, if you know where that building is. And so these people are on advisory board. We'll have more people. Some of you hopefully will invest in the bank and get on the advisory board with us. So I wanted to recognize all of those guys.
Eric Bycat was most recently the Atlanta Market President of American Pride Bank. Before that, he had several stints at other community banks across Georgia, and we're delighted that he's here. Chris Acker, our EVP Chief Operating Officer, is master of all things banking and pretty much all the things that nobody else wants to do. So, you know, everything in terms of operations and facilities and the reason that a bank is secure and all the technology works. Delighted that he's here. Scott Dahl, our experience officer. Well, experience officer sounds fancy in 2026. Yeah, marketing, sales, culture, approach, the way that the character of the bank, that's all pretty important. Our CFO has been selected and has agreed to join us, but he's still working for a school district out east here, so he's been a community bank CFO and a CPA previously, but he's in a secure and undisclosed location until he gives his notice to his current employer. But we're grateful he's going to join us. I've only been the CFO of 7 banks myself, and so I'm delighted to hand that off because he's a CPA also. And so we've got some other folks. Doug Fountain was Mr. Bycat's first hire. And now I can say it out loud from our alma mater touchmark. Andy Odom is going to join us next week as our IT officer, and he's coming on board. And where is the inimitable Elise Beecham? Where is? There we go, right there. There is our admin and responsible for all the stuff that makes all this work well, because she's a great framework person. Thank you, Elise. I miss anybody?
Do some Q&A maybe?
Let me go to the last slide, because I want to make sure that, and unless there's questions, one more is, okay, we're cute about this, right? We're in somebody's Greek, Alpharetta is First City, right? Okay, so here we are, First City Bank. That's cool. For any of you that don't know what that is, when you look across the green over there and see the dome on top of the City Hall, that's what that is. And so fine, here we are, we're called in organization. The FDIC has accepted our application. The FDIC has our proposed director interviews coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday, so we're blowing and going on this. There is an offering circular that we will have approved in the next couple of weeks, we think. And so we cannot accept money from outside investors until the offering circular is approved. Now, I wanted to be first and have the rest of my investment in the bank, but John Holman beat me to it. He's already got his money in the escrow account, because what happens is tonight, if you're interested, you can sign what's called an indication of interest. Hey, I'd like to see an offering circular. There's a business plan in there. There's projections. There's financials. If you want to talk about how a bank makes money and is successful in the stock price, we could talk about that too. All that's in the offering circular that you'll see. But you go through this process where, hey, do I understand what I'm doing? Do I understand why I'm doing it? Do I understand how I make money on it? Do I understand how a bank makes money? All those things we can talk about in the fullness of time at your interest, But right now, the whole thing is, we're trying to get together. We're trying to establish a base of shareholders. We're going to raise somewhere between 20 and 25 million bucks. The organizers themselves are putting in a little over 4 million. And so we're raising about 16 more to maybe 19 more. And when we were at our FDIC meetings a couple months ago, the banking commissioner said, "You're in Alpharetta. Why aren't you raising 35 or 40? Why are you only raising 20 to 25? Well, it's a business. If I can get profitable, if I can show a track record, if I can say, look what we've done in 3 years, then I'll raise more when I need it. But 25 million is a gracious plenty because banks in general, they can leverage 10 to 1. So if we raise $20 million in capital, we can grow to be about a $200 million bank. And we can be profitable just fine given our operating model doing that. And then 3-4 years from now, we're going to structure some sort of a liquidity event because you all are putting your money in a stock that's not listed. It's a Reg D issue. At some point, you might like to get some of your money back. You might like to sell some. You might like to buy some more. And so some point between 3 or 4 years, we'll structure something that all of our investors can understand what they'd like to go do next. I'm going to stop there because our targeted date to open is as soon as we get this done. So if the angels come down from heaven, maybe April, maybe sometime early May. It's a matter of how fast we can get all the buttons put together and have all the people on board.
So my question was, how do you plan to market to a younger generation that is not familiar with banking as it used to be?
Because I don't want to be banking as it used to be. I mean, the only thing that's going to be banking as it used to be is the building we open in, okay? There's this bifurcation thing going on right now where I'm 64, okay? I know the banking services that I want them to work. I'm fine with them. And if it was up to me, I could go with those and be tremendously happy. Well, we live in a world of stable coins. We live in a world where, the interchange that a typical business owner pays on every swipe of a debit card or a credit card is 5 times what they pay in Europe, okay? 5 times. So, where all these stable coins have come up, that, Visa has a stablecoin platform. MasterCard has a stable. This is not bleeding edge. This is not even leading edge. There's lots of folks doing transactions today, instantaneous transfers with no wire transfer fee. Okay, AI. Well, I could choose to be intimidated by AI as an old guy. Well, we've gone out and we've kind of engaged a fellow who does DevOps to say, build us our own AI. Maybe we want one named Alf. Let's name something that we can use because it's amazing the things that can be accomplished with big data. Well, how about you have a bank that figures out and demystifies several use cases for AI and then goes to our customers and says, hey, everybody, we're not that smart, but look what we did with this. Look what Alf can do. Maybe you might want to try something. Can we show you what we did? Maybe you might like to try something like this too in your business. Because if it makes you safer, believe it or not, if it makes you more confident and you're more satisfied that it works, because you can use Zelle, you can use PayPal, you can use Venmo, you can use any number, Chime, all sorts of devices to transfer money. If you thought you wanted to transfer $5 and you transfer $500, God bless you finding the customer service rep at Venmo, okay? So, all of those services work really, really well until you need to talk to somebody. And so blending the new stuff with the old stuff, that's the fun part. That's the fun part where it ain't me. It's a lot of people who are a whole lot smarter than I am that are like, hey, take a look at this. Take a look at this. And that's how I think we're going to blend it because y'all, in my understanding and the research that I've done, folks in their 30s and 40s and their late 20s, they're going to their banks asking for financial advice, not just for a bank account. Well, we got plenty of financial advisors even in this room who might be willing to be in that mix. And there are basics. You know, how many financial literacy classes have you done in the past year, Mr. Dahl?
Many. And I'd add, I think education is something that's missing in general. So when you think about financial literacy education, how many had that in high school? A couple of people. My goodness, Jill, I don't know where you got your financial literacy education in high school, but it's just not there, right? And so from a very early age, on up through until we're ready to be independent and be on our own, we really don't have the means to understand even how the monetary system works, how to balance a checkbook, how do I prepare to be in a position to buy a house? You know, what's required of my credit to be sure that I get better insurance rates, I get better rent opportunities. There's so much involved in that. Lori Young and I have taught a good bit of this together. But I think how we're approaching this is there's some great ways to approach financial education. I prefer that over literacy because it's life stage, right? So as you're in a life stage like mine, where you may have parents that are not as well as they were, how do you take care of them? What are the financial implications of that life stage? So I think reaching out and providing, whether it be a digital means or something around that table in the back, sit down with people and discuss, here's your life stage, how can we help you navigate this? I think that's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I'm a member of Delta Community, and that's what they do very well, education. They conduct these seminars, and many young people are plugging into Delta Community for that reason, because they feel like, oh, there's somebody there to help me, guide me. And the free check-in, I mean, it's a phenomenal bank. I've been there since 1978, and there's a reason I'm still there. You know, and it's the personalization. It's you walking in and everybody does know you, and you take a check-in, it's immediate credit because I know you. You know, that it's that personal service that really is missing, I think, for a lot of banks. So
Yeah.
being able to offer that is going to be huge for this community.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so if you've done well in the markets for the past couple of years and want to take some money off that table and invest in something that's, you know, you're basically opening at par and something you can drive up the street and check on us every once in a while and see how you're doing, we'd be delighted to have you part of what we're doing.
I had an answer for someone, I think was over here, saying, you know, what are you guys going to do different? I know you're a community bank, but what are some of the specific programs you guys have talked about? And we actually have talked about several programs that will distinguish us here in downtown Alpharetta, that are Alpharetta-centric, that are North Fulton-centric. And one of them is the Donor Advisory Fund. And actually, I'm partnering with Scott on that, on how we can have that for you and help you save money with administrative fees and things like that, and make your donations to all the organizations that you donate your money to throughout the year. And I know there's a lot of you in here, to simplify that for you and give you some tax shelter and give you one-stop shop for all the money and donations that you do, but also put a scope on the different charities. I mean, in Rotary alone, we get to about 20, we recognize 20, 25 charities every year. Well, we can put a spotlight on some of those here at the local bank for North Fulton as well as Alpharetta. So I'm really excited about the DAF account and kind of DAF fund and moving forward with you on that. I think that's a really unique thing about our bank too.
Yeah, I think that's part of the community-facing aspect of what we're doing, is how do we impact the community? We're a part of it, but not everyone here understands philanthropy. Who do I give to? How do I give that money? Who is worthy of that? And we hope to demystify some of that as well. Dave?
Well, there were three threads I'm hearing. Community banks love it, okay? Then I heard that we're ready to talk investment, but the investment time period would be April, May. Is that accurate?
No, we expect, there is an offering circular. We are not a listed offering, okay? This is not an IPO in the New York Stock Exchange, or it's called a Reg D offering. And so when our offering circular is approved, it's got a business plan, it's got projected financials, it's got a number of things in it that'll help you understand why we're doing what we're doing. We have this thing called an indication of interest. If you'd like to see an offering circular, Elise will make sure that you're on the list. And so here's what it looks like. And if you are interested to make an investment, okay, we can have some conversations, meet further, talk more if you want to. There's a subscription agreement. hey, and it could come to you as a DocuSign. We can hand it over to you, print a couple of copies out and say, here, take a look. And you're agreeing to subscribe for a certain number of units or shares. And then we have an escrow account at a large correspondent bank called Service First. And so that money gets transferred to that account, and the details are in the subscription agreement. And then when we reach somewhere between, we're only raising between 20 and 25 million bucks. And so I am grateful for the level of interest. Once we get to 25, we're done. And so, you know, I mean, I'd love to breed a spirit of FOMO, okay? But you know, believe me, there's time for everybody to fill out their documents.
One thing to know is our offering will be approved within 30 days, right, Bob?
Yeah, we expect, yeah, we've already submitted the offering circular. What we wanted to do, one of the things I wanted to do, I wanted to make sure that our financial projections are in there. So anybody that wants to understand, how's a bank make money? What are the metrics? How do you go do this? That we can speak about that. So that's actually one of the graphics in it. Yeah, we're thinking that should be approved within the next couple of weeks.
That's the point.
Yeah, yeah. So we're expecting sometime later this month.
Okay, so that's the investment.
Yeah.
Then there's the customer piece.
Yeah, we're expecting we'd like to have the offering closed by the end of March. It'd be lovely if we have all the money in by then. But the thing is, we're working with a bank that we're acquiring right now. If any of you are interested in a 3.25% money market account or a 3.25% CD for 6 months, would love to have you as a founding member of First City Bank, because you can open an account today. Now, they have paper applications. They don't do online account opening. We will, okay? But we're looking for depositors. If you're interested to become not just an investor, but a depositor, we'll make sure you get an account open, okay? And when we pull the lever and convert, you'll be among the first customers of First City Bank. We'd be delighted to talk to you about that. You know, it is interesting in this building. We, you know, the way we've arranged our lease is we will be in this building until they're ready to tear it down, okay? And so because they're going to tear it down, we're hoping, yeah, well, a couple of years will be okay. We'll see. The parking is interesting. I mean, the whole dynamics are interesting. But you know, we're taking 1982 into 2026. We're going to do it like that. It's pretty cool. You're welcome to tour the safety deposit box if you'd like. You know, if you want to fill out an IOI, you can take one home with you. Okay? I mean, we have small, mediums, and larges because in this day and age, you know, do banks need safety deposit boxes? Some people do. There's this thing now called the virtual safety deposit box. Okay, that may be a good idea, it may not be. But the thing is, a lot of this stuff, and this is part of the economic value of this, that night drop box back there is worth about 25,000 bucks. I'm taking it with me when I go. These vacuum tubes on these teller lines, that's about $60,000 of equipment. You might see it in another location at some point. So we're going to take full advantage of what we have here. It's just a unique situation that we put together.
Well, I wondered if there's a limited number of investors.
Is there a limited number of, we would like there to be a limited number of investors. The minimum offering, the minimum offering right now is 50,000 bucks. So we got a minimum of 50,000. And so if you all know what an accredited investor is, an accredited investor is somebody that basically has a good understanding of what they're doing. They know why they're investing. They know what they're investing in. Okay, the IRS has some standards for the amount of income that you make in the profession that you have and that sort of a thing. But if you're self-identifying yourself to say, look, I'm an accredited investor, I know why, we just want to make sure that folks understand why they're doing what they're doing. And so it is an accredited offering. We can have 35 or so non-accredited investors. We can do another offering after this for everybody else who wants smaller pieces. But that's the basis. That's basically the target size, is a minimum of 50,000 bucks. The sun's still out and it's still nice outside. It's almost 5:30. Please, if you have any more questions, we're happy to talk to you. Yeah?
Do you plan to stay within, when you do move, within the city limits, or do you even have that concept?
We have a number of wonderful, accomplished member organizers, a couple who've already said, we'll figure this out for you. And so we're looking forward to that. We expect to be in this area. Yes. Yes, sir.
Quick question for you. Have you guys identified kind of target business lines that you are going after, and do you plan to do more?
That's exactly what we were talking about before. Is right now in this process, we're talking to interested folks like you, the networks of our organizers and members. What's the low-hanging fruit? What kind of business do you think we can refer? What do we want to be best at? We'll know that within the next month. We actually have engaged somebody to come back with a product study, working with Scott to say, okay, based on all the surveys of all of our folks, here's what we want to be best at first. Here's our target audience. We'll be able to tell you that.
Yeah, I think, go ahead.
Will mortgages be a part of the offerings as well?
Mr. Beecham, do you think mortgages might be a part somehow of our?
I don't know, depending on the bank's gonna steal my business. We're gonna work.
Well, here.
That's a great question, because there are a lot of options. You know, a lot of banks will open up and they're headed towards the medical, or they're headed towards just commercial, but we kinda need to find out what the community needs too. So we're trying to ask, we want your feedback. You know, if you see something that's not being banked very well or properly, we wanna know about that. So,
But I'm not going to bat the question back at you, because here's an example. If you're a small business owner, if you're an entrepreneur and you've been in business for yourself for a while, and let's say you're trying to build a home, okay? You can go to a Truist, or you can go to a B of A, or you can go pretty much anywhere you want to apply for a mortgage. But if you're trying to do a construction loan, you can come to a bank like us that knows you, that banks you. We may tell you, we may not be the cheapest, but we can do draws when you need to do draws. We'll come out, evaluate when you need to evaluate. Then take your construction to perm. Yeah, stick around here as long as you want. Let us help you get done what you need to get done. If you want to take final out to Rocket Mortgage, God bless you. But, you know, but the premise is you need someone to get you done first. And the ability to do that is why local decision-making makes a difference. When you see our offering circular, you will see the amounts of money that every one of these organizers and executives are investing in this bank. Carter Barrett, who's a buddy of mine and did a community bank back around the same time that we did Touchmark, I've reached out to a number of bank CEOs, and one of the things Carter told me is he said, you make sure that you look at those financial projections. You make sure that you, Bob Consarak, are willing to back up your truck into a situation like this before you ask anybody else to do the same. That may sound bold, but it was one of the most valuable pieces of advice that I got, is because, you know, we're doing something that we think is special. We're doing something that we think is compelling. Nobody would ever invest in something unless they're confident of a decent return. And they want to know how a bank makes money and how you can be successful. I'll tell you, I couldn't be more humbled than the folks who've surrounded this offering and who are championing it. And so we're happy to talk to you more one-on-one about what that looks like, but we're all delighted that you're here with us this evening. Thank you.